Oh, damn.
But the big problem people have is they see a spotlight and they think it's where they're going to be ridiculed. But you need to understand that's not the case at all. Even if I came out here and made a total flop of myself, nobody would remember the next day. But instead, things worked out. So, what to take away from this? Whoever you are out there, know you have so much of your life left ahead of you. You still have an opportunity to go out and find your spotlight.
How long is this?
Or you can even make your own. And then maybe you can be as good with girls as I am. Thank you. Cheer louder. Thank you.
Walk it like I talk it. 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 Walk it like I walk it.
Give it up for Hayden, y'all! Can we keep the music going? Because guess what, Keystoners? We are live on YouTube right now. So get up and dance and wave to the cameras. Where's the camera? It's floating around here somewhere. Wave to the cameras, y'all.
Walk it like I talk it. Walk it like I talk it. Walk it like I talk it.
Where's that drum?
Walk it like I talk it. 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 Take my shoes and walk a mile, something you can't do.
Thank you, Hayden. Hayden, you are incredibly funny, and I think it is so remarkable that comedy could cut through dancing and singing and all the other talents that were displayed. I think that is so remarkable. You and Rachel truly have a future. I'm so proud of you. And you are hilarious. You are hilarious. Next, I would like to introduce you guys to the youngest woman and person of color to run for office in the state of Georgia. She lost her race for city council by just 22 votes. So if you're old enough to vote, or will be soon, don't let anyone tell you that you can't make a difference with one vote. Okay? And don't let anyone tell you not to follow your passion as well. This young woman has not stopped working for positive change. She's still reaching for that dream. She plans to run for governor and then, get this, for President of the United States in 2044. Please welcome again the youngest woman and person of color to run for office in the state of Georgia, and hopefully our future president of the United States in 2044. Give it up, guys, for Mary Pat Hector.
She's so loud, angry, bossy. Who does she think she is? Young people always in their cell phones. They're so lazy. They don't have any real passion. These are things that young people like me have heard since the beginning of time. But these are things that I refuse to assimilate to. And that is why at the age of 19, as a full-time college student, I became the youngest woman and person of color to run for office in the state of Georgia. Thank you. Tired about the race relations in our country, upset that so many young people believed that by protesting their vote, it was the only way, angry that my reproductive rights were in the hands of a man. Young people, that's right, young people, came together with a crazy idea of a power shift, a political power shift. running for office all across this country to bring about progressive change. But who was going to run for office first? Well, I had served as National Youth Director of a civil rights organization since the age of 14 and had met with President Barack Obama several times and worked with his administration on criminal justice reform. I was beyond qualified, despite my age, to run for that office. But on January the 20th, my 72-year-old opponent believed that I was just too young, not only to run against him, but to run for any office. But surely I was old enough to run, right? I was old enough to fight for this country. I was old enough to pay taxes. And to him, I was old enough to volunteer for someone else's campaign. Surely, I was old enough to run for office. Despite being contested, young people began knocking on doors. They continued making phone calls. College students all across the country began sending money to support our efforts. Our ground game was strong and out of this world. And like any millennial would do, we fought back. We went to court and we demanded that we stay on the ballot. It took weeks, but despite that particular situation, we ended up remaining on the ballot and beating 3 of our contestants, 2 of which were seasoned politicians, and we made it to the runoff. And of course, I made it to the runoff with the same 72-year-old man that decided to contest my race. And he ended up winning by 22 votes. And while that may seem sad or depressing, it's not, because while we had doors slammed in our face, we were met with millennials who said, you know what, this is going to be the first time that I'm voting. We were met with young people who gave us positive affirmations, and it showed us that while we lost by 22 votes, there were still people within our community who were prepared and ready for change. And so, following the election, young people all across the country began messaging me, telling me, you know what, like, I want to run for office within my state. And the power shift actually began to happen. And young people all across this country actually started winning their elections. My message to you is simple. Take a leap of faith. Don't be afraid, and don't let anyone tell you you're too young to wait to be great, right? You can change the world now. When I think about Malala Yousafzai from Pakistan, who believed enough in her message and enough in her campaign and enough in women like really being educated within Pakistan, she risked her life for that. When I think about the story, and I heard her say it before, she was on a school bus. A group of men came they were fully armed. They came on the bus. And they asked her, like, Malala, who's Malala? Who's Malala? Where is she? And everyone was extremely silent on that bus. But Malala realized that what she was doing was much more than herself. What she was doing was changing the mindset of a community and really standing up for girls who will one day be potentially president, right? Or, you know, governor or elected official or someone well respected in Pakistan. So she stood up and said, you know what, I'm Malala. And yes, they did shoot her several times, but Malala still lives today to tell her story, not only in Pakistan, but all over the world. I think about people like Mason Wright, who at the age of 12 years old wanted a job to stay out of trouble, but no one would give him a job. So he created his own. So he goes around the country selling hot dogs with his hot dog cart, right? Like, that's a big deal. I think about people like Lee Chain, who in Philadelphia was in a predominantly African-American and Caucasian school, but faced bullying. And Lee Chain did a protest at his school and ended up suing the state of Philadelphia because he didn't feel protected, and won his $1 million lawsuit against the state of Philadelphia. Again, I repeat to you, my point is simple. You don't have to wait to be great. You truly can change the world. You can make a difference, not because you're young, but despite because you're young, right? And we need to start appreciating people like the Boys and Girls Club of America and others for seeing young people as assets instead of liabilities. I look forward to seeing where each and every one of you all end up going. I know I'm going to see you all at the top. They say 10% of the world's youth today will lead 90% of the world's youth tomorrow. And I know everybody in this auditorium is a part of that 10%. Thank you so much and have a great day.
I came up from nothing.
you can't tell me. Yeah, did it go on? Take out my neck, take out my wrist, yeah.
I swear I ain't never expected it to be like this. Now I'm getting rich. I swear every day we live.
Yeah, every day we live, yeah. You can't tell me. Yeah,
That's lit. That's lit. Give it up one more time for Mary Pat, Hector. I can't wait to cast my vote for you in 2044. Cannot wait. Now, it is a true honor to introduce our next speaker. There's a lot I could tell you about this track and field athlete who also played for the NFL and Canadian Football League. But there's one story in particular that you need to hear. At the 1968 Olympics in Mexico City, he won a bronze medal in the 200-meter dash. At the medal ceremony, he made a big statement without saying a word. Remind you of someone? Well, this was the pioneer of that. He wore black socks and no shoes to represent impoverished people, and then raised his fist and bowed his head. His teammate, gold medalist Tommy Smith, also shoeless, joined him in this gesture. After their peaceful protest, both athletes were suspended from the U.S. Olympic team and banned from the Olympic Village. This year marks the 50th anniversary of their protest. Since then, the moment has been memorialized with a statue at the Smithsonian's National Museum of African American History and Culture. Please join me and let's stand up and give respect to this legend and pioneer. Please stand. Let's give respect. Join me in giving a warm Keystone welcome to Dr. John Carlos.
Hello, hello, hello. Hey, what's the name of this organization? Is this the BFW? Is this the Boys and Girls Club? If this is the Boys and Girls Club, we don't want you guys in the stadium to just tell us the Boys and Girls Club. We want the people outside to know. So when I say Boys and Girls, I want to hear y'all holler club. Boys and Girls.
Club.
Boys and Girls.
Club.
Boys and Girls. All right, that's the start. We know we're going to have a good time. Oh, listen, I understand y'all probably going to the amusement park. I'm going to go home and get my amusement shoes and put on. See if I can catch y'all out there. But until I get there, I want y'all to think about a few things. First of all, everyone here looks great in those orange shirts that you have on. You're unified. And I understand that there's some sort of activists in the stands. You know what activism is, right? An activist is a person that say, hey man, I saw somebody fall down, and as an activist, I feel my responsibility to go help them get up. That's the future of the Boys and Girls Club, to help society. To help as many people as you possibly can help. The way you go about trying to help somebody is to first of all, help yourself. Now remember, by helping yourself, a lot of guys go into sports and they go to college and they think they're an athletic student. But I want you guys from the Boys and Girls Club to set them straight and let them know that you're a student athlete. Not an athletic student, a student athlete. I want you guys to focus on education. Why do I want you to focus on education? Because I look in people's eyes out here today, and I see some people are going to be as great as me or greater in terms of recognition on a worldwide level. So therefore, they're going to take a microphone one day and stick it in your face as they did me. I don't want you to be one that represents the Boys and Girls Club or whatever state you come from or whatever country you come from, and they ask you a question, you scratching your head as to who you are, where you are, and where you anticipate going. I want everyone around here to realize that when you put that logo on your chest and say boys and girls, you represent them no matter what.